at the Kerville Folk Festival. Please welcome Verlon Thompson.
I really enjoyed that song from Ben about the old fiddle. I told him I stared at that damned old fiddle for 20 years hanging there on Guy's wall. And I also agree with Ben. If it weren't for Guy Clark, I'm sure I wouldn't be here tonight. I wouldn't be at a lot of the wonderful places I get to go. Guy changed my life in so many ways, musically, personally, and I'm about to tell you all about it. But the first thing I want to do is, this illustrates the fact pretty well. Years ago, I was in Ireland with Guy, and we were playing this wonderful festival. It was in front of a big castle. It was just like something out of a fairy tale book, and it was a hard place to get to, so they were bringing the artists in by helicopter, so it had sort of a Woodstock feel to it. And one of those artists they brought in on a helicopter was Jackson Browne, and I had always loved Jackson Browne and never thought I'd ever get to sit down and visit with him, but I'm sitting backstage with Guy Clark, and who walks up and sits down at our table but Jackson Browne. And so I got a chance to visit with him, and he was telling me about a song called These Days. He said, yeah, man, back when I wrote that, he said I was in my Dylan phase. I was trying to be Bob Dylan, and he said I wrote it with a little jangly beat, and it was kind of a mid-tempo song. And he said, and then my buddy, keep in mind he was like 18 years old at the time, and he said my buddy, a guy named Greg Allman, heard me playing that song, and he took it and he recorded it. And he said it changed everything. He said, I changed the way I do it. And he said, I love the way Greg does it. And I thought maybe since we just lost Greg Allman, maybe it was a time to do this song in honor of both Greg and Jackson Browne and Guy Clark for getting me to in the same room with Jackson Browne. Well, I've been out walking. I don't do that much talking these days. These days. These days I seem to think a lot about the things that I forgot to do for you, and all the times I had the chance to. Well, I had a lover, but it's so hard to risk another these days. These days. These days I sit on cornerstones and I count the time in quarter tones till 10. My friend, don't confront me with my failures. I have not forgotten them. So I'll keep on moving on. 'cause things are bound to be improving these days. One of these days. Ooh. And if I seem to be afraid to live the life that I have made in song, that's wrong. You see, it's just that I've been losing for so long. Talking these days, these days. These days I sit on cornerstones and count the time in quarter tones to 10. My friend, now don't confront me with my faith. I have not forgotten them. So I met Guy Clark in about, I think it was 1989. We were both signed up to the same music publishing company to write songs. And I didn't even know Guy Clark. I'm just standing there like an idiot one day looking out the window, and I see this big old tall, lean and lanky Texan with that long hair flowing, that cigarette going, that swagger, and he's dragging them boot heels across the parking lot. I said, "Who is that?" They said, "That's Guy Clark." They said, "You need to get to know him." I said, "Yes, I do." So before you know it, I did get to know him. I approached him very carefully, though, because you see, Guy was a big, intimidating looking guy. He had one of those facial expressions, the corners of his mouth always turned down. He's always like, even when he was happy, he'd be like, "I'm happy as hell." So I never really knew if he was happy or not. So I in the early days, I approached him real carefully and slowly, and it turned out that underneath that old frown of his, there wasn't nothing but a big puppy dog. And so I got to know him, and next thing that happened, he asked me to come down in the basement studio there and make a record with him. We made a record called Old Friends. And yeah. And when the record was finished, he said, "Well, Verlon, you need to come out on the road with me and play those licks you played on the record now. You're going to have to play them on stage with me." And I said, "Well, I'll try it for a couple of weeks." 25 years later, I'm still tagging along with Guy Clark. But you know what? I loved every minute of it. Well, maybe not every minute. We had our moments, but for the most part, yes, it was an incredible experience. I'm so lucky to have been associated with Guy, and it still pays off daily. So the first thing that happened, he said, "Come go on the road with me." We took off, and we were gone for a month. We went to England and Ireland and Scotland and Sweden. Then we came back to New York City, and then we worked our way down the East Coast, and then we went over to Chicago, and then down to Texas, and back to Nashville. It was a month or more, and I come dragging my tail back up the sidewalk at home, and my wife met me at the door, and she said, "Verlon, where all have you been? this is so exciting. Where have you been? I said, I don't know. I said, it's all a blur. And she said, well, you need to start making a list of these places where you play. And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. So I sat down with my legal pad and I started writing out the names of some of the places that we had been. And over the years, I've added to it, and it's about 7 pages long. Don't panic, I'm not going to do the whole song. I'll do the short version. From Poor David's in Dallas to the Gallatin Palace, the Cactus Cafe, the palms and the birch, the bluebird, the gray eagle, the tin angel, iron horse, and of course the grand old Mother Church. The Station Inn, Exit Inn, Fruit again, Michigan, Flat Rock and Round Rock and Little Rock Jacks. Dublin, the Tullamore, the Down Home and the Troubadour. Long as they want us, we'll keep coming back. You see, we ain't been everywhere, but we're trying to get there. And if you let us tune up, we'll throw down a set. Book us a room, we'll be in your town soon, 'cause we ain't been everywhere yet. There's the Ark and the Handlebar, Wolf Trap and the Apple Farm, Pootie's Hill Country and St. Augustine. At the foot of Denali and down on the Swanee, and that night I can't talk about in New Orleans. On the Live Freedom Radio, the Birmingham, Zydeco, Reno and Conroe and somewhere in France. The bunkhouse in Brenham and the barns of Vienna and the riding arena at the real South Fork Ranch. You see, we ain't been everywhere, but we're trying to get there. And if you let us tune up, we'll throw down a set. Book us a room, we'll be in your town soon, 'cause we ain't been everywhere yet. Yeah, the old Floribama, Songwriter-rama, the Merle and the Strawberry Festivals all. The Liberty Lunch and the Fireman's Kitchen. And tonight at the Kerville Folk Fest with y'all. You see, I ain't been everywhere, but I'm trying to get there. And if you let me tune up, I'm gonna throw down a set. Book me a room, I'll be in your town soon, 'cause I ain't been everywhere. No, but I'm sure trying to get there. You see, I ain't been everywhere. Yet. It's like making conversation, and you're trying not to scream, and you're trying not to tell them you don't care what they mean. And you really feel abandoned, and you really feel alone, and you really feel forsaken, and you just can't get back home. Old friends, they shine like diamonds. Old friends, you can always call. Old friends, Lord, you can't buy 'em. You know it's old friends after all. When the house is empty and the light begins to fade, and there ain't nothing to protect you but the window shade, and it's hard to put your finger on the thing that scares you most, and you can't tell the difference between an angel and a ghost. Old friends, they shine like diamonds. Old friends, you can always call. Old friends, Lord, you can't buy them. You know it's old friends after all. Yes, it's old friends. They shine like diamonds. Old friends, you can always call. Old friends, Lord, you can't buy 'em. You know it's old friends after all. Man, thank y'all. Ever since it's been a little over a year that Guy passed, and some nights it's hard to sing some of these songs of Guy's, and I appreciate you, lifting me up here. I used to tell the story about how what this song was about. He said he was 6 years old. He was out in the yard and he heard his mom and dad hollering at him. He said, "Guy Charles, come on up here. We're going into town. There's something big going on." He said, "What the hell's going on in that little town?" Monahans, Texas. They said, "Well, it's something you ain't ever seen, boy. There's a train coming." The guy said, "Well, even at 6 years old, he used to curse." He said, "Hell, I've seen trains before." Yeah, being 6 years old, I had seen some trains before. So it's hard to figure. No, let's see. Now, being 6 years old, I had seen some trains before. What we is at the depot, 4 trains are big and black and smoking steam, screaming at the wheel. Bigger than anything there is, at least that's the way she feels. Trains are big and black and smoking, louder than July 4th. So everybody's wondering if this might be something more than just picking up the mail or the soldiers from the war. Well, this was something even old man Wildman never seen before. And it's a late afternoon, it's a hot Texas day, and something strange is going on, and we is all in the way. There's 50, 60 people sitting on their cars. The old man left their dominoes and they come down from the bars. And everybody's watching. Old Jack Kittredge checks his watch, and us kids put our ears to the rails to hear 'em pop. Yeah, but we already know that when it finally came train time, you'd have thought that Jesus Christ himself was rolling down the line. Things got real quiet, and my mama pulled me back. but not before I got the chance to lay a nickel on the track. I said, look out, here she comes, she's coming, look out, there she goes, she's gone, screaming straight through Texas like a mad dog cyclone. Big and red and silver, she don't make no smoke, she's a fast rolling streamline, come to show the folk. I said, look out, here she comes, she's coming, look out, there she goes, she's gone, screaming straight through Texas like a mad dog cyclone. He said she never even stopped. There's still 50 or 60 people sitting on their cars, wondering what he's coming to and how it got this far. But me, I got a nickel smashed flatter than a dime by a mad dog, runaway red silver streamline train. Look out, here she comes, she's coming, look out, there she goes, she's gone, screaming through Texas like a mad dog cyclone. Big and red and silver, she don't make no smoke, she's a fast rolling streamline, come to show the folk. Yeah, look out, here she comes, she's coming, look out, there she goes, she's gone, screaming straight through Texas like a mad dog cyclone. I got an old blue shirt, it suits me just fine. I like the way it feels and I wear it all the time. I got an old guitar that won't ever stay in tune, but I like the way she sounds in a dark and empty room. I got an old pair of boots and they fit just right. I can work all day and I can dance all night. I got an old used car that runs just like a top, and I get the feeling she ain't ever gonna stop. Stuff that works, stuff that holds up, the kind of stuff you don't hang on the wall. Stuff that's real, stuff you feel, the kind of stuff you reach for when you fall. I got a pretty good friend, he's seen me at my worst. He can't tell if I'm a blessing or a curse, but he always shows up when the chips are down, and that's the kind of stuff I like to be around. Stuff that works, stuff that holds up, the kind of stuff you don't hang on the wall. Stuff that's real, stuff you feel, the kind of stuff you reach for when you fall. I got a woman I love, she's crazy and paints like God. She's got a playground sense of justice, she don't take odds. And I got a tattoo with her name flame right through my soul. And I think everything she touches turns to gold. Stuff that works, stuff that holds up. It's the kind of stuff that you don't hang on the wall. Stuff that's real, stuff you feel, y'all. The kind of stuff you reach for when you fall. I'm telling you, a guy changed my whole outlook about life in general, but especially my musical goals and my music approach. You know, when I first came to Nashville, I just had big stars in my eyes. I thought I'd get me a tour bus and a manager and a hairstylist and a, you know, all that stuff, and I'd just like take the world by storm. After a guy got to know me a month or so into it, one day he said, "Verlon," he said, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been watching. I think I know you well enough I can say this now. He said, "I don't think that's what you want." He said, this is before we made the record and I went on the road with him. He was trying to convince me even at this point. He said, "I want you to go on the road with me and I want to show you something." He said, "Man," he said, "first of all, I want you to see that you don't need a tour bus or a band or a manager and all of that headache." And he said, "You damn sure don't need a hairstylist." He said, "There's little places all over this world you can go, you can play." He said, "I'll show you. I'll take you to Europe. I'll take you to Asia. I'll take you to South America. We'll go up to Canada." He said, "I'll show you. If you go," he said, "people will show up, but you got to have one thing, and it ain't a band, and it ain't a manager, and it ain't all of that stuff." He said, "You got to have a satchel full of good songs." He said, "If you got a satchel full of good songs, the people will come." And he said, "They'll take care of you." And sure enough, I went out on the road with him, and I saw it was so clear and so plain. And I thought, man, what have I been chasing? I've been chasing this thing that's not even the real thing. This is the real thing right here. And I got Guy Clark to thank for that. That's just one of the things I've got to be thankful for to Guy Clark. Another thing is, well, he was always open to listening to me. I would go over and sit down there in his workshop with him, and he would be building a guitar and writing a song at the same time. He had a workbench with his tools over here on this side, and then a swivel chair that swiveled around, and his writing desk was over here. And he would write for a few minutes, and then he would swivel around here, and he would work on building a guitar, and then swivel. And I used to love to go just sit and watch him do that. And I would talk nonstop while he was working, and he just would let me. And one day I remember I was in the middle of this rant. I was saying, you know, and another thing, Guy, I can't find this. I'm looking for this certain kind of guitar. I've been wanting one of those bourgeois guitars. It's got mahogany back and sides, and I said, I just can't seem to find one. They're hard to find. Guy's over there chiseling on a piece of wood, and he says, "Verlon, go in there and look under my bed. I think I got one in there." I said, "No, you can't have. I mean, that's an expensive, rare guitar. I think I go check." So I thought, okay, I'll play along with the joke. I went in there and I looked under the bed. I saw a case. I pulled it out. I opened it up. It was a bourgeois the exact model that I wanted, had mahogany back and sides. I couldn't believe it. I pulled it out of the case and I marched back in there to his office. I said, "Guy, how long have you had this and why didn't I know about it?" And he said, "Well, I didn't know you was interested." I said, "Yeah, this is exactly what I want." I said, "Can we work out a deal? I'd love to buy this off of you. I'll work for another 20, 30 years for you to pay it off." He goes, "So you like it?" I said, "I love it." He goes, "Just take it." I said, "I just can't take a guitar like this." He says, "Take it." I said, "No, I can't." "Take it." He got mad at me. Said, "Take the damn thing." I said, "Okay, well, how about this? I'll take it. It'll be in my custody, but it'll always be your guitar. How's that sound?" Guy goes, "Whatever." This is that guitar. I was passing by a pawn shop over in the older part of town when something caught my eye, and I stopped and I turned around and I went inside, and there I spied in the middle of it all this beat up old guitar just hanging on the wall. "What do you want for that piece of junk?" I asked the old man. He just smiled and he took it down and he put it in my hand, and he said, "You tell me what it's worth, son. You're the one that wants it." He said, "Tune it up and play a song and let's just see what haunts it." So I hit a couple of chords in my old country way of strumming, and then my fingers turned to lightning. Man, I never saw it coming. It was like I always knew it, and I don't know where I learned it. But it was a dream come true, so I just reared back and burned it. Lost all track of time. There was nothing I couldn't pick. Up and down that neck, man, I never missed a lick. It was like that guitar played itself and there was nothing I could do, and it was getting kind of hard to tell just who was playing who. And when I finally finished, I was almost out of breath. My old hands were shaking and my shirt was soaking wet, and that old man jumped up and grinned and he said, "Where in the hell you been?" He said, "I've been waiting all these years for you to stumble in." And then he grabbed an old beat up case and said, "Go on, son, pack it up." He said, "You don't owe me nothing." But when he said good luck, there was something spooky in his voice and a strange look on his face. And when I closed the lid, I saw my name was on that case. So, you know, the end was always something that I was afraid of. I didn't know how it was going to come to pass. I mean, the end of my touring with Guy, I didn't know if, well, I just didn't know, and it worried me. But he kept going. The last several years, he probably shouldn't have been out there, but he couldn't stop. He was not going to stop. He knew people wanted to hear his songs, and And he kept going and kept going, and finally, they sent us on a trip. 12 days in a row, 12 nights back to back. We started in Abilene, Texas. We went from Abilene to Dallas to Fort Worth, down to Houston, and finally wound up in Beaumont, Texas. And that 12th night there in Beaumont, Texas, in the middle of that show, I knew that was the last one. I don't know why, I just knew it. I didn't say anything. And I think Guy knew it too, and he didn't say anything either. But we both knew. And that next morning, we got up to drive back from Beaumont, Texas, back to Nashville. And we got back to his house, and we sat down at his kitchen table the way we always did, and he would write me a check for the tour. And we sat down at the table that day, and I said, Guy, I'm not going to take any more of your money. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going to take any more money from you. He said, yeah, I think you're right. He picked up the phone, he called our booking agent, and he said, Keith, I'm done. Cancel everything else on the books and don't book anything else. Click. And that was it. It was done. And to my great surprise, I felt sort of a relief that that's how it happened. And the beautiful part about it was that after Guy hung up the phone, we sat down there and we talked for about 2 hours. And we relived all of our days, starting way back when we were both young and we thought we were outlaws, and we used to rock all night and do all the bad things that we should have never been doing, but by God, we did them anyway. And the more we talked about it, the more I thought, man, this has just been, it's been so great. We were young, looking like outlaws, waiting for a train to take us up to Oregon, a 2-week run of old saloons and dance halls. Every show we played was better than the last one. And you held your songs up to the light, and my harmonies got tight. And you were playing strong and clean. We were a musical machine. It was a perfect sideman's dream. 'Cause we were young and looking like outlaws, waiting for a train. For about 5 minutes, we were rock stars. We played the Hall of Fame. We even rode up in a limousine, and some young kid was there to carry our guitars. You looked at me and laughed when they showed us on the big screen. And outside, around the backstage door, like we'd never seen before, there were pretty girls galore and a couple of flat-out whores. But you said that ain't what we're here for. About 5 minutes, we were rock stars. We played the Hall of Fame. It caught us unrehearsed, between a chorus and a verse, between a blessing and a curse. Old friends and stuff that works. It went from good to bad to worse, and the wheels came off in Beaumont, Texas, maybe Abilene. Hell, they all run together, but just like that, 30 years had passed us, and the long ride home seemed like it took forever, forever, forever. We were young, looking like outlaws, waiting for a train. For about 5 minutes, we were rock stars, and we played the Hall of Fame. And then the wheels came off in Beaumont, Texas, maybe Abilene. Thank you all very much. I sure enjoyed it. I appreciate you all. Thanks for letting me talk and sing about my dear old friend Guy Clark. Good night.
Verlon Thompson.
Oh, thank you. That's one thing I didn't take from Guy. Guy used to, instead of doing this encore thing, he would just say, "This is my encore song. I'm done, and I mean it." And then he wouldn't come back, no matter what. Man, that was kind of a downer I ended on, so let's do something up tempo here. I want to do you a song. I figure you can't go wrong in Texas doing a song about a horse, and so I got one for you. It's a song about a horse and an old boy by the name of Joe Walker. You see, Joe Walker was actually an early pioneer, even before Lewis and Clark made it out to the West Coast. Joe Walker had already been there. And Joe Walker always rode a really fine horse, and that's what this is about. Now Joe Walker's mare was a mighty good ride. She was no bag of bones, no hunk of hide, and he gave her to me the day that he died. Joe Walker's mare was a mighty good ride. When Joe Walker found her, she was lonesome and lame, her tail in a tangle, birds in her mane, in the Arbuckle Mountains in a cold pouring rain. When Joe Walker found her, she was lonesome and lame, y'all. Joe Walker rode her for 20-some years. He viewed most of this country between her two ears. He found him a good one, and he never switched gears. Joe Walker rode her for 20-some years. She never reared up, no, she never broke loose. She'd carry a queen or a Choctaw papoose. Bareback and bridle, no saddle, no use. She never reared up, no, she never broke loose. Pulled the wagon that hauled him away in the box that he'd built for his own burying day. She even dropped her head for the preacher to pray. And then I unhitched the wagon, and they hauled him away. And I never rode her, it just didn't seem right. Oh, I brushed her and I combed her most every night. And I thought about it, but dream as I might, I would not ride her. It just didn't seem right. So in the Arbuckle Mountains, somewhere running free is the son of that mare Joe Walker gave me. I turned him loose the day that she died. Joe Walker's mare was a mighty good ride. She was no bag of bones, no hunk of hide. Joe Walker's mare was a mighty good ride, y'all. Thank y'all again.